My why is because I believe every single person deserves to be heard. That every single person has greatness within them.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Master Your Life. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm really excited to introduce my guest, Ernesto Mandowsky. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kate. Let's roll.
Let's roll this thing. Let's get some momentum. So just a couple sentences about Ernesto before we dig into this. Really, it's going to be fascinating. So hold on to your hat. Ernesto is the founder of MDM, a training firm that transforms businesses into million-dollar machines. How does that sound? His personal mission is to democratize business transformation tools and shares insights through the MDM platform. Outside of work, Ernesto enjoys reading, baking challah, which I love challah, especially toasted with a little bit of honey, working out, and spending time with his wife in Miami, Florida, another Floridian. So Ernesto, super cool to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing your energy. We're going to have a great ping pong match today on this lovely podcast.
Yes, I'm digging it. So tell me the democratization of business. This is where I want to hit hard because even the word democracy has been wrecked and ruined because, we are in an election year. What does the democratization of business mean to you and why is it so important?
So people, depending on where you look, the stats will say 90% of businesses fail, 80% of businesses never make it past year 3 or 5 or 7 or whichever, What I'm on a mission to do is helping that 90% of people make it past year 3, make it past year 5, survive. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not big enough yet to invest in my system. So I'm not there yet to start. And it's that mentality, it's that mindset that is actually keeping them from getting there. It's this idea that, oh, I don't have enough money to hire that $25,000 HubSpot consultant to help me get. No, exactly where you are today, you can start building momentum today. No excuses. We're going to make it happen.
What gets in the way for people, right? Because you said a statistic, it's 80% people in America are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. I'm not sure. But yes, we are a country of entrepreneurs. And do you believe that we're reaching our potential as entrepreneurs?
Definitely not. What gets in the way is overwhelm. As entrepreneurs, we all know, oh, we have to do all the things. We have to wear all the hats. We have to do all the AI tools. We have to get on the latest version of ChatGPT. And all of this stuff just creates overwhelm. And so you have a tab of 19 browsers open and 18 windows and 100 files on your desktop and 47 text messages that are unread. I can go on and on, but when you have so much noise inside of your space, like right in front of you, how the hell do you expect to get anything done?
So have you always been a person that understood the value of radical prioritization?
Well, what I have valued is, and we spoke a little bit before the show, is going to restaurants. And how does that connect? Radical prioritization and restaurants. When I was younger, I was taking a culinary entrepreneurship course. And in the first lesson, the guy said, our job as restaurateurs is to restore people. And so when you help another founder, another entrepreneur feel a sense of peace, even if it's just for an hour on a call with them, you have fulfilled that experience of going out to eat at a restaurant. You restore them. And when you're a performance coach, when you restore their ability to perform, you now have instilled that confidence that, okay, I can break through. I'm going to make it past 5 years. I'm going to grow my business to a team of 3. I can break through the status quo.
So what does restoration mean? For me, as a high performance coach, one of the key operatives of a high performance habit is clarity. That when people are clear on who they are, how they show up, and how they're going to measure success, that's a real gateway for people feeling restored, but in a way that it drowns out some of the noise that's not related. What is restoration to you?
I share that vision of restoration around clarity. And specifically, the first idea of clarity that I invite people into is this idea of your top 3 priorities, the vision board, if you may, but not the vision board with 37 photos. It's like the vision board with the 3 things that you want to get done, not today, but over the course of the next 3 months, this quarter. So when I start working with clients, I say, hey, what are your top 3 priorities? As the question number 1. Question number 2 is, who in your network can help you accelerate on those priorities? And question number 3 is, okay, what work do you have left over to make it happen? And it's through creating this alignment between your priorities, your people, and your projects, you could start to build on this momentum inside of any business, any industry, any size.
But I think people are, particularly with founders, right? Because we talked a little bit about this. So the founders feel like they're the only ones that are kind of keeping it together. So for me personally, delegation has always been a challenge for me. And I think that part of it is because I'm unusual in the sense I'm totally ADHD, but I believe all founders are, right? We have the ability to hyper focus, and we can all class ourselves as ADHD. But what's the problem? Where's the disruption? How do we disrupt our fear of letting go and delegating the tasks that aren't at our highest and best interest?
People are afraid to let go. And so instead of, I like to shift the energy to, it's not like, hey, Kate, let go of your podcast. It's, hey, Kate, sprint towards your summer vacation, or sprint towards that new life that you're trying to build. And if you say, hey, when you're on the yacht in Croatia with your family, do you want to be like monitoring the progress of your podcast? That people can answer that question for themselves. There's nothing wrong with that, but what are their wants? And Dan Sullivan, who's the founder of Strategic Coach, he's someone I look up to. He talks about this concept of like, what is it that you want? What is it that the founder wants? And eventually the founder's going to realize that those 2 ideas, cannot live in the same paradigm. Being on a beach in Mexico and checking your emails it's just not something that they actually really want.
I think also too, it's like the clarity is that a lot of people don't even see what's on the other side of the mess.
They have no idea. They know
they really don't.
It's even possible.
100%. Yeah. So when you talk about prioritizing people and projects as like the 3-way split, just go back a little bit and talk to me a little bit about how you went from the restaurant, the whole concept of hospitality, which is really where your founding core of your business sort of launched from, and how that moved into this MDM model. What is that progression for you? And the reason why I was asking you about were you always a radical prioritizer is because there's a certain personality type of a person that can see both as a visionary and a strategist. And I think you are both of those, which I think is unusual. But how did that show up for you when you were a younger person?
It was a lot of doubts, a lot of fears, a lot of perseverance, because so back to your question earlier, you said, how do you convince an entrepreneur about like letting go of the podcast? When I was starting in this restaurant, and I was anxious because no one was teaching me about how to do things, I was thinking about the future. I was thinking about the world and how it was adjusting, and that restaurants were going to be run by technology. And so I said to myself, I must be informed in all of this. And so I would really study all of the documentation centers of the tools that I was using. I was actively experimenting in the arena that happened to be a restaurant. But I was setting up processes, creating systems, seeing what was happening inside of a restaurant in terms of how a server was creating that experience for people, and then seeing, okay, how can I create that experience for my colleagues when it came to learning a new system or a new platform or a new tool. And so change management really became this theme. How do you change with this idea of 5-star service so that the person can feel excited about what was coming up? And so that's how in today's world of MDM, we start with, we always have like that future vision. And okay, how does that future vision translate into the 3 priorities for this quarter? And how does that translate into the people? And how does that translate into the tasks that need to get done?
It's so good. Well, how would your mom describe you? Because I'm so curious about that, because you have that level of intensity. And so sometimes that level of intensity is, it doesn't necessarily fit in with the ways of the world, and my sense is you've always had it.
I've always had the intensity. We're like an Italian hot-blooded family on one side, and then a practical German, by the book on the other side. And so it's kind of like this paradoxical combination of, these worlds that, made me who I am and how I am. And I have an uncle who's this crazy art broker and creates dessert with food. And, that was kind of like the early inspiration. Like, how do you take these 10 ideas and make them into one? It made me realize, like, it's possible. You can take all these ideas and create something that's totally unique.
I love that. So do you think thinking or thought or concepts is artistic? Business building?
Sorry, I missed the question. What was that?
Business building. Do you see artistry in it?
Without a doubt. I mean, we give you the skeleton, right? We have the project management tools, the frameworks, like how you build relationships, the stage, I give you the skeleton on how you can run things. But then the art side comes into, okay, so what gift do you want to send when a client onboards? Or how do you want to run your closing celebration calls? Or what are your core values and how do those show up in other places? I can't really tell someone else what their core values are, and then even less so how they would show up in reality. But I can say, hey, you need some core values and you need a way to build relationships. And, there must be a process, but really each client brings their own unique flavor into how the process is done.
That's so good. It is so creative, isn't it? It seems like you light up when you talk about that you have a vision around that element. So what excites you in life?
What
excites you in life and business?
It's really cool to see the technology world now opening up. I think, people look at Apple and they look at Google, and like they're both massive companies. Sometimes people usually associate Apple's kind of like a black box, like you don't know what's happening inside. And I would say the old world of technology, you have no idea what's inside. You can't really use those tools. You can't really you can't look at the code and then copy things. Versus Google, it's more open source. So you can take the code and you can do something with it. And so one of the tools that I use is a platform called Notion. And Notion, if you've never heard of it, it's like Asana or Trello or Monday. And why I have chosen Notion is because you're able to duplicate a pre-built instance of Notion. It's kind of like Google. It's open source. You can build something and then duplicate it. On ClickUp or Asana or Trello, they don't really have these ways to duplicate these templates. They have how they think you should work, which probably are some best practices. But I love that I can create a thing that can then be shared with my clients, my community, my world as free resources that they can just immediately plug in. And so it's really, more creators can create with tools like Notion or Zapier and share those creations super easily.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. I lean towards Notions out of all the technologies out there, just because it does feel more free form for me. And as a creative, I'm strategic, but I believe that thinking is creative and building business is creative. I came from a family that was very much like the fine arts was creativity. My mom drew and my sister was a good artist. And so I was into performing arts, but that was never really is that really art? And then building a 7-figure business, I'm like, wait a minute, this is taking a lot of creativity. Every day I'm getting worked, and life is a stage. And I believe that life is theater. And that's why I love the bridge. I love knowing that you have, like me, I'm German, Polish on one side and Irish on the other, a family of 11, 9 siblings. So it was a mismatch of values and learning the structure of my German heritage, and then also the creativity of both sides. Actually, I think it's an interesting mix. I love the conglomerate, the recipes of America, and how we have this bridge between the two. So you're lit up also too about a couple things. One of them is, I know you're expecting a baby and this coming January. So congratulations. That is beautiful. So excited for you and your wife. And also you're really focused. Women call it nesting. I don't know what you would call the male version of that when you're ready to give birth as a man, but you've been very busy working on a creative project that I believe is important to you. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit of the details, just so we can be part of this journey.
Yeah, well, I've described the feeling of nesting as I'm on a bullet train. Straight up.
Here's the male version.
To the point that people have written me letters saying, to the bullet train, I hope this inspires you. But yeah, I've been, over the last 3 weeks, I have been writing my next book called Momentum Multipliers, the 5 recipes to build your $1 million machine. And in it, I share these recipes. I share these stories from the hospitality world and how building your business is both a set of scientific steps customized to your specific artistic style that you are expressing through your business. And so I'm very excited about it. I've actually started taking pre-orders for it. And for everyone who joins in on the fun, we have a launch event in December ahead of New Year.
So pumped. I know. And in the show notes, we'll be definitely sharing details in regards to that. So did this concept of this book come to you in a flash, or is it a culmination of ideas, or how did this come together? Because I love how when people usually write in a flurry, it's usually a pivot of something. It's like, aha. And what was that for you? A moment, or was there not a moment?
No, it all has happened. It takes so long and it takes so short. For the last 4 years, I've been building this business. And as I shared with you before, in April, I rebranded. I have changed the name to MDM. I have doubled down on my core story of hospitality. And so now when I look at all the concepts that I've taught about project management and weekly planning and relationship management and CRM, all these very difficult concepts, for the mind to integrate, I said, you know what, it's time to tell the story through a much easier, simpler way, which is the story of hospitality, the story of restaurants. And so I've had this content for years in my head. I've had it in my course that I teach people, but now, with respect to tailoring it and shaping the narrative and helping someone understand a concept in less than 60 minutes, to really open their minds up to a whole new way of building. And so that has been kind of the driving force, and excited about how it's coming out.
And, I think also too, it's such a key time too, as I mentioned earlier to you as well, that with my new book, The Agility Mindset, we have a bridge between them. We're definitely going to be doing some co-authorship for sure. But it seems that right now, as things rapidly change, and you came into technology and we're pushing envelopes on people, I'm sure in the restaurant business, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're going to bring it all together? And it was old school. We're still writing out orders on. I worked in the restaurant business forever. I loved it, Ernesto. Did you? Were you in the restaurant business?
I was for 3 months. I was a busboy. The reason why I left was because I started my first business at the time. I was selling panini pressed ice cream donut sandwiches. And so when it came to, picking up dishes or serving people delicious, icy, hot, Krispy Kreme donut sandwiches, your face says it all. How can you not
dirty scraping over serving yum? It's kind of a no-brainer. Right. Exactly. So when you're thinking about from that origin, right? I always say this to everybody, that you have to work in the restaurant business to understand people, because you have to deal with the kitchen. They're ready to slice you up, if you put in a change order or whatever. And then you're dealing with customers. You never know what table's going to bring. It's the most intense experience and I loved it. I did so well because it required all of my acute hyper focus skills. But I do believe that every founder should be work in the restaurant business for 3 months.
You say, oh, you never know what a guest is going to bring or the kitchen is going to bring, but when you're a founder, you never know what life is going to bring. You never know, like, the vendor who's going to call you, the investor, the customer, the rainstorm that's going to happen, or like you have no control over any of it. And it's like, how do you still show up as a server, like, with a smile on your face with whatever the universe brings you that day? It's like, keep a smile on and keep moving.
Yeah. Right.
So, it's the same.
It's going to shift and change. I mean, I would say that would be my word to you as you go into this new father role, is that, geez, I was listening to Tim Ferriss and Chris Williamson talking about their longing about how they wanted to start families. And I was listening with like humor and like, oh my God, they have no idea. Because here they are, like, Tim's probably in his mid 40s and Chris, and I actually wrote a comment in the YouTube. I never do. But I was listening to the story about these men who've had such great success, and Tim Ferriss really more along on his journey, but still amazing. And I'm hearing about the innocence to which they're longing for parenting. And I'm like, they have no idea how their world is going to blow up. Just no idea. And I want to be kind and loving in that way. And I know you're going to do great, but it is like a new table every day, table of 5, party of 6, you're out of 86, this and that, 86 being, we're out of it in the kitchen. You get that last minute, right?
I'll keep all that in mind. New customer every day, new emotions,
right.
new
it's
requests.
It's a trip, right? And it keeps us on our toes. And I think I know a lot of people have chosen not to have kids, and I totally understand that and appreciate that. But I do think that there's something about having children and seeing yourself and your quirks in a little being that grows up and talks back and does all their things. But it's so humbling. It's the most humbling experience. So yeah, and in the best of ways. I mean, I can laugh about it, even though despite the harder things that I've gone through with one of my children in particular. But yeah, it's a story for sure, dude. It's a story. So the way that people can play with you now, because even though you've had great success in this consulting aspect of your business, what are you now more committed to, and who should be reaching out to you, Ernesto?
I'm more committed to helping early stage entrepreneurs build their $1 million machine. So the people specifically that I'm inviting into the arena, into my arena, the MDM arena, are the people that, they're in year 2, year 3, they've generated over 6 figures, and they're kind of stuck in that 150 to 500K range. And the question on their mind is, okay, how do I grow? If I double my number of clients, yeah, I double revenue, but can I actually take that level of effort, those hours? How can I really explore this idea? And so those are the people I'm really, really focused on. There are plenty of people who maybe have $1 million business, and they could also truly benefit. They just also have to be ready to cough up a bit more. But it's really those early stage, year 2 to year 5 entrepreneurs that want to break through.
That is the sweet spot. And that's actually it's interesting, because that's where I love to coach people from the psychological level, because I do believe it's a belief limitation that in order for us to break through for true success, there has to be psychological relief and release into a new way of thinking and a new way of being. It takes great courage, doesn't it?
It does. It also takes great agility.
Yes, it does. It really does. I just love that word. So what's your definition of success, Ernesto?
My definition of success is continuing to play the game, continuing to just have that same level of excitement and dedication to whatever it is that you're building each and every day, despite the circumstance or the outcome.
And so who do you feel that you're here to serve, and how do you measure that?
I am here to serve those early stage entrepreneurs who want to continue to play the game, who want to continue to persevere, who do not want to burn out. And the way I measure it, I have 3 main indicators. The first one is peace, is the level of confidence and relief that they have, knowing that they have a plan for the future that creates a sense of peace. The second one is performance. So how much more activities are you creating this quarter versus last quarter? Are you scheduling more calls? Is your list growing? Are you giving more workshops? Are you speaking on more podcasts? Are you performing at a higher level? And the last one, which most people actually put first, is profit. Are you making more money? If you are feeling great and taking more action, correlation, not causation, but like correlatively, you will produce more money. You will generate more revenue. If you're not generating more revenue, then we can ask the question, what shifts can we make? But that is the main third indicator of success.
Oh, I love it. I love your systemized approach. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Well, I cannot wait to see this progress. And anyone listening who is in that stage, who just feels like, you know what? Something about this call kind of pissed me off. I hope that you're a little bit irritated because the things that we grow through that little bit of irritation where we know in our hearts we're here for more. We're here for more. And it's not just this egoic sense of self. It's that you're here to serve, right? We're here to make a difference in whatever that is. And I had this question I'm going to ask you, Ernesto. And the question is this: from when you were born, uniquely you were given a unique set of gifts that were just yours to give. And what percentage do you feel from 1 to 100 that you have tapped into?
I think I've tapped into about 65% of it. Not yet at my full potential. Still kind of growing into that. Great question.
Yeah. Well, the average high performer is between 40 and 60, right? It's just the people that are most successful are in between that stage of 40 and 60. So you and we're in the work of filling the gap, right? That's what we do. We're here to fill the gap with greatness and profit and peace and all the other good stuff. Right on. Ernesto, this has been a blast. We're going to go part 2, part 3. So stay tuned. Any last parting words you'd like to share with the audience today?
Get over yourself. Whatever is getting in the way, and find someone to play the game with, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's the last guest that you had, the next guest, like raise the level of commitment in the game that you're playing.
I love that. Right on. Let's go. So if you had a billboard, is that what you would have it say? What would it say if you were to have like an expression?
The expression, it kind of trigger people, but organize your business because everyone is running a dumpster fire right now.
It's true. Oh, you're calling me out, dude.
I didn't say anything about you.
Oh, no. I have some shame. I have some shame over here. Oh, my heavens. Well, Ernesto, thanks so much for joining us on Master Your Life and sharing your incredible tools. I can't wait to see this progression. People, reach out to Ernesto if you're ready to up-level your game, if you're ready to organize your business to have greater peace, greater profit, and greater impact. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. And until next time, organize your life, reach for the peace, and we believe in your greatness. Take good care, everyone.